one right next to your hand that you're pointing at.
That sharpener?
Yes.
This one. Here, you may have the sharpener.
Sorry. So what's up?
Not much. We're up for our Saturday night. This looks like a, I'm sure this isn't what this is, but this looks like a
Those
lip.
are brush cleaners.
Oh, okay. It's not a lip balm.
Don't do that. It would kill you.
Would it kill me?
Maybe make you sick.
Yeah.
And then you would die.
Wait, what you using there?
What?
Was that a cume?
Yeah, I refuse to pronounce it in the. Well, it's
Cum
either,
or
it's
cum?
either cum or cum. I don't know.
K-U-M.
But that's why K-U-M is how it's spelled. I've never been.
Oh, wait.
It's unfortunately.
Turn it over.
Spelled. What?
Remember?
Oh, this?
Showed the little thing. 2 holes. Number 1 and number 2.
Yep. Number 1 just strips the wood off the pencil. Number 2 sharpens the lead.
Right. Always use the 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Everybody's jumping in.
Yay.
Did you?
So, what?
What you got? Oh, you left the little guy outside.
Oh, you may go get him real quick?
Probably.
Well, you can. This is just, you can. All
Or
right,
I can
I would grab it.
show the rest of your studio.
Somewhat.
He's supposed to be cleaning.
That's what I was working on, hanging out on the couch.
Oh, when you were sitting on the couch next to the kid. He's running outside because he just spray fixed this piece. This is sandpaper to sharpen erasers more. The collection of pencils. The only neat spot in the whole room. That's not all his pencils. And how many needed erasers? I don't know. And tiny skulls. Oh, there's 2 tiny skulls over there.
Yeah, there's a gray one and a
White
basically
one.
flesh tone.
You're gonna put them in.
Yeah, this is.
Put my, hold on.
I was working on
Let's put my drink down.
for the last couple of days. I think I spent it. Well, it doesn't matter. I spent a few days working on it, and we had this nice frame sitting around. It was perfect.
Oh yeah, for him.
Yeah.
Isn't he cool?
So it's a graphite on a clay board with graphite wash, and then I worked back into it quite a bit with the 6B Kohinoor.
Oh yeah, we were discussing the Kohinoor. Is it the Kohinoor or is it the Koran Dash?
This is actually Kohinoor graphite. The Koran Dash graphite are the ones that are in the 3.2 millimeters, which are also pretty good. But the 6B, for some reason,
You feel like the 6B is
it
darker?
adheres to the board better. It especially gets darker. I don't know why. They're the same weight lead, but the consistency is
Oh
different.
no, Joe Beth, I hope you're doing better this week. She missed last week. Oh, there he is.
And he's been coated with like a clear acrylic spray varnish.
Yes, he has.
So he's going to be at Copro for the Roadside Attraction Show in a couple weeks.
Yes, May 12th. is when it
In
opens.
this frame, I think.
This is the frame.
So.
One of my many frames. Ooh, I got a new table.
Yeah. Where your framing table?
Yes.
So, let me set this over here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Oh, cool. Rachel's going to be there.
A little bit later, I'll show. Somebody had questioned us online about how you erase back to white on these clay boards when there's a lot of graphite on them.
Hey, Marco, I'm sorry, that's what you're going to do later.
Yeah.
Somebody has to translate for me because I have yet to find a translate button. So if you guys are asking me questions in Spanish, I don't know.
If we could get somebody, or we can try to get the question emailed to us so we can run it through a translator. We'll do our best.
Clarence asked where we got that frame.
We got it at that antique store that's right down the road.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, the consignment store.
The consignment store.
It's one of those plaster frames. I mean, we find a lot of frames at antique stores, and then
They're antiques or vintage places, and you like the distressed look on your pieces. It really works well.
I like the naturally distressed look. I don't like the painted distressed look as much.
Right.
I like it when it's more. I think that one may have been painted over, but they did a really good job. But generally, I like the ones you find that are just naturally kind of messed up a little bit. The frame is imperfect. There's an undercurrent in some of the pieces that I do, there's something that I've been, like, my son keeps asking me why there's this little triangle that shows up in a lot of the work that I do that seems like it's falling off of something, like it's broken. And I told him it's kind of a representation of a theory that I have, that imperfection is actually what allows people to exist in the universe. I'm not going to get too philosophical here, but it's called the divine imperfection, and it shows up in some of the work that I do.
You can get philosophical.
Well, I mean, I don't want to labor the point, but it's just that it's my way of saying that imperfections shouldn't stop anyone from being anything. You know, whatever flaws you may have, or you know, or you perceive you have. It's not up to me to tell you what your flaws are.
Right.
But I know my own flaws. But I know that my artwork is a product of many of my flaws. You know, so. Or addressing them in some way.
Yes.
So especially with this toothy paper, I like to draw on the side a lot, because you can get kind of like nice, broad, almost calligraphy type movement in the line.
And that pencil is
This is a 6B. This is a 6B.
Tombow
I've been using 6Bs a lot.
100s.
Yeah, 6B Tombow Mono 100.
Yeah. Tombow Mono 100s. He likes the 100s, not
so
Tombow Monos.
If they don't have this plastic end on them, they're just called Tombow Monos. They're not 100s. If it's just a wood all the way up, those feel chalkier to me. I don't know what the difference is, but there's a slight difference in price. So there must be some difference in manufacture,
right?
In terms of composition, and these tend to get nice and black too. On paper, these are probably the ones that get the most black. Even though the densest, you can get denser graphite with the Hyuni 10Bs. Yes. I'm not sure it's any darker than this. It's just more dense. Huh?
Okay. I have some questions.
Okay, great. So.
Do you think, Arbog asked, do you think that it's possible to achieve a similar texture and pattern you do using graphite, but using hatching instead?
Yeah, actually you can. You just, you've seen, like, there's a few people that use a sort of almost a hatch work to make graphite. Like, I think in some ways, Barlow and my friend Amilcar Fong, if you look up Amilcar, he's got some beautiful graphite work. And I think on some level, it's got a little bit of this kind of very, very small and light cross-hatching that just blends into a noise in the piece that's kind of a beautiful, texture. But yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You can. I've seen people do it with different shapes of marks. Like I had an illustration teacher who made a drawing using just tiny little C's all over it. Little C's. His stroke was like this, and so the entire drawing was covered in like tiny little C's. But it blended together and looked.
Yeah.
He kept the values where they should be. It's just that was the pattern he established for the noise that you see in your visual field. So.
We had. Don asked, what were we talking about with Kohinoor? You have a Kohinoor 6B.
So this, well, yeah, I do. I have to show. Okay. So this is a Kohinoor hardmouth lead holder, and this is a 5.6 millimeter lead, and they're Kohinoor 6B leads. They're 4865, and I think they're also branded under the name Ticonderoga.
Okay.
So, but if you look up Kohinoor, and the number is 4865, and it's a 6B. And
gotcha.
And that's a lead holder.
Oops, sorry. Here's the Kohinoor.
So, but
you were talking about that. You felt like that was almost darker than the.
This is probably for some reason it adheres to the clay board better than anything else.
Right.
I don't tend to use it as much on the paper because it doesn't make as much of a difference on the paper, but on the clay board it seems to adhere. There's this weird thing that happens with the clay board at some points. Inexplicably, some little areas. For a while, for some reason, the graphite won't bite on there at all, and you just have to. I don't know if you'll eventually run into it if you play with the clay board. It'll be like you're trying to draw on a super smooth piece of glass, and
you're like, it's not taking.
The only thing I figured out to fix it is sort of a little bit of insanity. I have to take an X-Acto and lightly create a tooth that you can't see very well if you look at it, but that the pencil will grab onto.
Yes, Izzy. Yeah, the clayboard are all those pieces that have the textured backgrounds. Those are all clayboard.
It looks like this.
Izzy asked, so you draw on the clayboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it to a point where it looks like this, and then it's almost impossible to sketch on it after this, because if you erase anything, it's going to move the bottom. What you do is you make a sketch and then project it or find some way to transfer it onto the board, which, you know,
Oh, I really
there are
like this part right
many
here.
different ways. But yeah, the reason I like it is because I can go back in and play with all these details.
Oh, I like those swoops. Where'd you get those?
It's from Brush.
The brushes.
Yeah, and if you use enough water, when it dries, it does this granulation thing that looks sort of like a relief map. But you can, and another thing I was going to mention, and I'll do this in a little bit, but I make, sometimes if I want to get back to pure white and it's a simple shape, I'll make a stencil with like, this is just Mylar. It's real thick though. It's like 0.7 mil Mylar, and I'll use it as an erasing shield. It's basically a bigger version of this, which if you've been around long enough, you might recognize this as an erasing
That's like
shield.
from my college, wasn't it?
Actually, I think it is from your college. This is yours.
It's like from my interior design. God.
So it's just for erasing really sharp lines, and like
My God, back in 1989.
I won't do it on this one because it's
So you have
I
plans
have a
for
texture
that.
for that one. But like say on this one, if I want, I've been for some reason been playing with star shapes a lot lately in the pieces. So let's just say if I want to
Oh, you're
erase,
gonna do it now?
Yeah, I might as well.
All right.
So I make sure I have it, you know, pretty much where it's going to be on the piece. And this is just a kneaded eraser, and you just start hitting it with the kneaded eraser as hard as you can. I mean, you don't hit it so hard. You start moving the sheet around, and it'll come off in stages anyway. So, and you tend to want to make the eraser pointed so it can get down into the edges. I'm showing this for people who are asking about getting back to pure white with it, and that happens in stages with how I
It
work.
doesn't come
So
back.
It doesn't happen all at once. You can do it, but
But you have used no white paint on any of those. That's just
no.
the
In
glow
fact,
of the paper.
right. In fact, white paint on top of this
It's going to look
will
funky.
stand out because
Yeah.
this is a warm white when you erase back into it, and white paint, unless you warm it up a lot, tends to look cool on it, and it stands out too much.
Look at that kneaded eraser is nasty.
This is almost a brand new kneaded eraser.
Oh.
So
Which kind of papers do you prefer to draw on? What's the exact name of them? Well, if you miss it or you don't know what I say really quickly here, you can always go to our facts page on our website at Alan Williams Studio, the frequently asked questions, right? But he likes Stillman and Bird Zeta series papers. You use a Stonehenge cream journal paper.
yep.
And what the one you're drawing the dragon on is what? That's
Strathmore,
just Strathmore
400
medium
series.
weight.
And that's just medium drawing surface because it has a good tooth. You can
Yeah.
get the smooth as well, which I use too sometimes, especially if I'm wanting to work in graphite powder on paper. The smoother surface paper is better for graphite powder because if you put graphite powder on a textured surface, it just is really hard to get at. I'll only do it halfway so you can see it. You know, I'll do a little bit over here so you can just. Sometimes what I do is I just.
That's good.
There you go. So there you end up with sharp lines. You know, and you can use that or blend it in or whatever you want. And then if I get to a point where I really want it to go back to white, I'll hit it with an electric eraser. And it takes it back to the solid white of the board. Mm-hmm. You know, you can see. Okay, so, and it's kind of harsh and severe.
Hey, Chris.
But what I'll end up doing after that is, let's see where I put it. I'll end up using my kneaded eraser and these little Tombow mono micros things, or what are they called? Mono zeros. So this is, it's yeah. So, and I just sit here and I'll go back over it and blend it like you would with a pencil, and it just takes a little while. And you can get rid of any solid edges and blend your highlights back into your the rest of your values. Because once you start using the eraser on top of it, you'll get a little bit of graphite on it. And it'll actually start pushing around the gray a little bit. And
then you just work with
you're
it.
basically drawing with it at the same time you're lifting it up. You know, like if you go into a dark area, it lifts up. If you go into a white area, it lays down a little bit of graphite. So it's...
Oh my God, everything looks fuzzy. I forgot my glasses.
But see, that's how you get back to white. If you imagine me doing that process over and over again, that's how I get back to like brighter whites in a piece. And then,
Right.
And then this Kohinoor for some reason, like I said, when you want to go dark with it, it can actually go pretty. It actually goes pretty dark compared to other things on here. See, it actually draws back onto the board really well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is that Kohinoor 6B lead.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also branded Ticonderoga as well. Ticonderoga lead. But
it works.
So
it's like butter.
It's really nice. But
Yeah.
this is pretty much exactly how I ended up like doing this.
Yeah.
So it's just doing it with
Don't move 'em.
doing it with purpose and pushing the and refining it over and over again.
Right.
And
so
then
we're taking the whites off of taking the graphite off of the clay board.
And that little line of string and the needle shape that's in his hand, I did with a needle, an actual needle.
Right.
Yeah.
It's actually the point of a compass.
It's a compass point that I put in a mechanical pencil.
In a mechanical pencil.
Yeah. So, but
that is a 6B. Yes, it's a 6B.
But that's how that works out. And like I said, it just takes a while. And this is interesting because these mono zeros usually come with they have a little a ridge on the side that is like a pencil clip. And if you try to turn it in your hand, the thing gets caught and it spins the eraser, so you can't turn the eraser. So I actually just filed mine off and sanded it down so that I could spin it like this. Because otherwise, if you don't, I'll spin my pencil or spin my eraser when I'm drawing, and it keeps a new side on it all the time.
Yes.
And it also makes it easier because I sharpen
Oh
it.
yeah, like this is where he sharpens his.
That's how I sharpen the eraser for pinpoints and for using it to make gradations and stuff like that. I get a real
Fine point.
a decent point to it, and that's pretty small. And then I just come back and start.
That is a Tombow
Mono Zero.
Mono Zero.
Yeah. All these, these you can get at JetPens.
JetPens.com.
Yeah. So
The dreaded thing that comes up on the credit card statement. Ah, what have you been doing?
I have
JetPens.com.
I have a relationship with JetPens.com. I've been buying stuff there for a long time. That's where I get the Mitsubishis and Hayuni pencils.
Yes.
And the Tombow Monos.
Yes, Nikki asked, does the Tombow 6B compare to the Korean Dash 6B pencil?
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's just they have slightly, like the Korean Dash tends to be a little more gray and the Mono tends to be a little more black.
Yeah.
Because they have a different binder in the lead.
See, it's not just lead. It's a different binder. One's more black and one's more gray. Okay, wait, sorry. I gotta go get my drink.
So, but anyway, that's how you do that. And you can what I'll do is I'll take if I have a drawing, like if this were a line drawing, and I can either project it or I guess you could do it with like a white transfer paper. You could transfer it onto this because, like I said, you can't really sketch on it unless you're willing to mess up the background.
Right.
Because if you erase you have to be pretty sure if you erase your sketch lines, they show up as erased lines. But so anyway, so it's just a different way of working, and it gives you a different result.
Different look.
Yeah.
I don't think someone asked about you doing the graphite wash technique. I don't think you're doing that tonight. Yeah, because his space is a mess.
Pretty
over
messy
there.
over there. We can make sure that we do that next Saturday.
Week. Yeah,
Well,
Snap King. We'll do that next Saturday. We'll start with which we did. That was the short one.
I did it one time. It was a video we put up.
It should be on YouTube.
Yeah.
It should be up on YouTube. It was like a 30-minute one or something.
Yeah,
or a 5-minute one.
If you go check on YouTube, it might you might find one there where we already did it, but we'll do it again. So I lost my.
So there is one. You lost the pencil you were using?
Yeah, where'd I put it? I don't know. Keep talking.
Okay. Me? Keep talking.
But whatever. I'll just use this one. So.
It's not the one you like. It's the one right there.
Huh?
It's the red one in the holder. No.
No, it was a Tombow. I just don't know where I set it down. But on paper, it's not as much of a difference, you know.
Our YouTube is Alan Williams Studio. That is also our website, which is down, but you can always email me. People have been ordering stuff just by emailing me through the website. You can see stuff, but you can't order it right now.
So I want to say this. Most of the differences in those pencils I was talking about are very small.
It is.
And, it may not make that much of a difference to you. The more important thing is just to find the one you like using that feels good. Because I mean, not everybody. I mean, to be honest, my obsession with like the tools doesn't really have anything to do with the art. It has to do with having a hobby that to me isn't the same as doing the art.
Yes. Oliver asked if I wasn't there, would you lose all your tools?
Actually, my tools aren't the things that I normally lose. I normally lose things like my phone, my car keys, the car, stuff like that. That I lose. I don't really lose my tools.
Children? No, you're not the children.
I don't lose the kids. Not anymore.
No.
No.
Is there any structure under the surface of the drawing? Structure as in like...
It looks like this.
That's all it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's as much structure as I usually have before I start finding different textural things. But that's for this kind of drawing. If I wanted to do something, if I were doing a piece of contract work, I would start with a more elaborate, formal
And then
drawing.
there's like these heads up here. I can show those heads, right?
Yeah.
I can show those heads. Wait, you're going to use... Oh, yeah.
So, like, these are something I did for a magic card a long time ago, and I just basically designed them in line form because I can, I look through it and I see volumes and shapes and stuff, and I know where, if I have it like this, I can put the light anywhere on it and figure out where the shadows are. So, but I draw in a lot of different ways. I mean. Which is why it's sometimes difficult when people say, how do you do one thing or the other? Because I swap back and forth in the middle of a drawing. Sometimes I'll start with an impression of a composition that I want, but I won't formalize it until halfway through the drawing.
Right.
And then I'll go back in and I'll take a photograph of it or a scan of it, and then I'll play with shapes, digitally until I figure out how I'm going to finish the composition that I was aiming at.
Right.
But I've gotten to the point where I trust myself to do that, and that's a big thing. You can't do that for, art directors though. They don't tend to want to trust you that far.
Well, no, you have to know what's.
Although there are some that are really good about letting you be very vague at the beginning.
Right.
I've been real lucky to work with people who did trust me that way. But,
it looks like stippling. Yes, it does. Just because of.
So I haven't done any stippling on it yet.
No, but it's the tooth of the paper.
Yeah, but if you
really light
but if you want to make people feel like it's even more so, pick isolated areas in here, and you go back and you just kind of hit the edges with some very purposefully placed stippling dots, and then it looks like you kind of did it over the whole thing. It's sort of a trick, but what it does is it makes your eye feel like that's what the rest of the piece is doing too. So what I actually do is I'll go back in and put really hard lines sometimes in those textural shadows, because I love old etchings, like Dürer and those guys, and and I love the way that those they have those really hard lines that are amidst the noise of the way that they've carved that, what is it?
They're giving you hearts because you're drawing.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Or you never get to see the little hearts, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Sketchy Punk said, I'm curious about how you manage to keep your pages so clean. They're actually not clean. I mean, he does have the board over his...
If I want it to be
This
clean?
isn't the nice cradle board because it was being fixed.
No, it was he measured it because he started getting orders for it.
Oh, okay. That's right.
So I have it back, but I don't use it on this table. I use it when I'm out in the living room.
Yes.
Because this one I beat up a lot, and I don't want to beat that one up. This is just a
cradle board.
A cradle board that you would paint. It's gessoed on the other side. You'd paint on it.
This board, he holds his hand over it, but you don't care whether your drawing gets dirty or
not. No, many times I'll just draw directly on it, and have my hand on it. And if there's a smudge somewhere, they erase pretty well. And what doesn't erase?
See, wait. I was just talking to a lady on the phone earlier, right? So you're supposed to dab.
So
hear the little squeaky noise?
Some people already know this, but kneaded erasers work best if you lift the graphite off first. See?
Comes
like
off.
that, and then go back where you lift it off and then rub. That way you don't end up pushing more of the graphite into the paper by rubbing too hard.
There you go.
So
I was talking to someone on the phone today. They said, how does he do that?
Well, it's not, it's like there's really nobody that sits around and tells you how to use a kneaded eraser.
No, because,
And that's just what I discovered to be true. Nobody really told me that.
This is great. This is just Strathmore medium weight drawing paper, right?
Yeah. That's all it is.
Yes, it is not. I don't know if that's cold press or not.
And just for your sake of knowledge, I don't have beautiful sketchbooks that look like you could print them and make. I see those a lot, and I love them when people do it. But my sketchbooks tend to look like somebody like had a third of an idea here and eighth of an idea, and they don't really look like they go together. So actually, I think I have a page.
What is this? That
This
you bought?
this is just Mylar. I bought stencil Mylar online, and you can cut it with an X-Acto.
No,
but
but you got
this
a
is 7.
fancy thing for Christmas.
Well, I got those stencil cutters people use for crafts and hobbies.
Yeah, the Cricut.
So mine's a Brother, the Scan Cut thing.
Brother Scan Cut.
Yeah,
Yes.
Scan to Cut or whatever it's called. And so I use it when I'm doing simple shapes or sometimes an ellipses that I don't have a template for.
Yeah, you do it on the computer. It comes
Yeah.
out perfectly, and then you can use it.
And then I can cut a stencil. I can basically cut my own erasing shields.
Yes.
I can even cut it into French curves, which is cool.
Yes.
So, but this helps a lot when you're trying to get a nice tight edge on something.
Yes.
What?
Someone said that's why the kneaded erasers never work for them.
Well, they do work. It's just hard to get that hard edge with
Right,
it.
right.
Because most of that, you just have to go back and over it a lot. But again, the key to it is getting one of those electric erasers and hitting it with that. That takes it up really well. Mm-hmm. And then I have even a smaller one that has a smaller point. But this isn't really a kneaded eraser.
Oh, yeah, no. You know what?
This is
Someone
a-
emailed and asked me about that, and I have
Yeah.
not emailed them back. I
This is-
have a stack of things. That's
This is a Micromark mini engraver, and what I did was I figured out that the engraving bit is the same size as my eraser, so I put the eraser in there, and it works really, really well. And it's even a tinier point to erase. I wouldn't use electric erasers on paper like this that much because it can
It'll just
mess up the paper pretty
chew
well.
up the paper.
But it works great on the clay board and on gesso board. But so yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm all about, like, if you don't have the right tool, figure out
Figuring
which
out
ones
how
that you
it's
do have
going
and
to.
try to make them work.
Yes.
You know?
Art hacks. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Oh yeah, I should start putting up the hashtag art hacks.
Yeah, because I even like my crank pencil sharpeners. I retool them so they work better.
Oh yeah. Oh,
'Cause-
I have that one on Patreon. Oh, the Patreon is patreon.com/Alan Williams. And
A lot of stuff we have stuff that goes up there. Speaking of the rotary sharpeners, there's usually a lead stop in most rotary crank pencil sharpeners, the ones that you crank like this.
Yeah.
And you have to go inside and either file it off or cut off that lead stop, and then it'll sharpen to a longer, more
I think
tapered
I
board.
have a little PDF, but I put it up a long time ago. I should repost it so it's up on the front of the page.
I think there's actually one on our Instagram page earlier too.
Oh?
It was that one that I made where I showed people how to do it.
Do you prefer 6B to any other lens?
Lately, usually, before this I would have said 4B, but I've been using 6Bs a lot lately. I don't really know why.
Does Dragon have a name?
Not yet. So, I don't know. I don't do dragons I noticed this. I realized something. Other than the dragons that I did for hire when I worked for the game company, that I hadn't done a dragon since Cosmo.
You think so?
I hadn't done a dragon since. I used to draw dragons that would look like the dog that we had, and eventually when he got old and he passed away, I didn't realize this until I was sitting talking to Duncan. But I haven't drawn a dragon since he passed away.
No.
Not for myself.
Cosmo.
Yeah, and this actually, if you knew my dog, you would realize this actually still kind of looks like him.
Totally looks like him. His picture's out in the other room.
Yeah. He was a very good dog.
He is a very good dog.
Now we have Izzy, who is also a very good dog.
Yes.
But Cosmo he was sort of like this, I don't know, maybe it was, I don't know if I did it intentionally. I know I didn't do it intentionally. I just hadn't realized that until I started talking to Duncan about it.
Yeah.
But it's weird how...
Art of O'Daniel's asked how we're doing.
Is that Sean?
I don't know if it's Sean. I think it is.
Oh, well, we're doing great.
We're on the Gulf Coast right now.
I know. Is it when you say O'Daniel's, I automatically think Sean O'Daniels?
I think it is.
Is it?
Well, I can't.
Maybe he'll answer if he hears us.
I know. Yes, it is. He said, "Yep."
Oh, hey, Sean. I'm doing good. We're having fun. I mostly work in my studio and avoid getting carried off by mosquitoes.
Oh my God, it's been beautiful here.
I know, but I'm gun shy.
We're on the Gulf.
If a bug is going to bite somebody, it's going to bite me.
No, we're gonna we're on the Gulf Coast, about between Mobile and New Orleans. So normally it's like 90 degrees by now, but it's been 50 degrees at night and 70 degrees in the day, and it's gorgeous.
If you're anywhere near Santa Monica in the next couple weeks, there's a show called Roadside Attractions coming up at Copro Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get to it, you should go see it. It's going to be pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. They're asking where his nostrils are exactly.
Well, sort of right here.
He hasn't
It's
decided
just his
exactly.
This is his breathing area. This is his seeing area.
That is the one thing, like, you don't go by, oh,
And he may
anatomy has to work right. He's like,
He's probably
nope, it just
probably going to have a tympanum instead of an ear. He'll have like a frog tympanum. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So I do what I call relative anatomy, which is it relatively looks like anatomy.
It works.
It's anatomy-ish.
Will we be at a LooksCon this year? Yes, we're going to the showcase for the weekend because I have to make sure someone's here to watch the kids. So the whole 5 days was a little much for us. Yeah. So we will be there for the weekend.
Plus, it's a long time to stay away from working for me.
Yes. Anatomy-ish.
There's a book that I firmly believe in called Ish, and it's about a little girl learning how to draw. And at first, she's very frustrated because she can't do anything very well until she is told that if you draw a tree, you don't have to draw a good tree. You just have to draw a tree that looks tree-ish, and that's how you start.
Because you know what? It was her brother kept all of her drawings that she was throwing at her brother or sister. I can't remember.
It's a good book, and it's a lesson that a lot of people could learn. You start off. Most things go through the ish stage.
I know it's ish. It's just and she was throwing all of her drawings away. She or he. Now I can't remember.
I think that it was a little girl, and she was throwing her drawings away, but her brother was keeping
them and putting them up in his room. And it looks like a tree-ish. It's tree-ish.
So.
Oh yes, it's a children's book. We have a lot of children's books that are wonderful. So don't worry if it doesn't look exactly like.
Just you start off, you make it look ish, like whatever you want. So.
They want to look at your sketch pages, and you know what? I showed them last week. There was a pile on the floor.
Here, I'll get some. I'll pull some out. It's the pile that was on the floor.
Oh, okay. The unfinished ideas. Yeah. He doesn't have a sketchbook that you can like trim through. Here, look.
What are you doing?
I'm going to show him this. Look, ready? Still stacks of stuff. Piles of stuff.
All right.
Oh, you got them? It's over here.
Some of them are on the floor now again.
Oh my God.
Here. I'll put those up later. All right. You can come over.
All right.
So,
wait.
I'm not going to explain any of these because they're not to that point yet. But these are just the way that this is the way that I do my own shorthand sketch. I mean, it's not much different than anybody else's really. But
these are possible ideas.
These are all pieces that I've actually started in one way or another. Like I started making a maquette for like a figure that's going to sit in that position.
Yeah. What sort of Cintiq is in the corner? What is that?
What, that one?
Yes.
That's the 24 HD, the one that came out just before the touch screen one came out. That
was the Lotus King.
This was not the Lotus King.
No, but it
looks kind of like him. But there are others as well.
Oh no, that wasn't the sketch you used for the Lotus King.
And this was just a line drawing.
She's awesome.
I've been over it like a dozen times, so it's like, and this is something else. I'm not exactly sure what this is. I keep thinking of that Baba Yaga character because it's and then I actually did this sketch. It does an entirely different thing, but then I was like, oh, these two things kind of go together pretty well. That's how I do a lot of things, though. I keep like every bit of little things that I sketch that are random pieces like this that are just shapes that I'm playing with, and they'll come back out in pieces later.
Yes.
So I don't really throw anything away. Like. So.
I like that guy. Love that one. You have to do that one.
And this is the girl that I actually painted. I painted this.
You painted her.
I've done this design a few times and I've been playing with it a lot. But this one I want to do again, but I want to do a vertical figure where she's standing.
Yeah.
So, this is another guy that I've actually tried painting once, and the first painting tanked on me, and I didn't like it. I'll try it again.
Oh, I have that painting over there.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Oh yeah.
But
you worked on that one like couple days, like a week or so, and then you were like, no, it's done. I'm not going to do it. It's that guy. What is that?
Just a sketch of something. I don't know what it is yet, but
Oh,
I have
I
a
see.
feeling.
It looks like a face.
Yeah. So, and then I took a picture of my hand, and wait, hold on, in this shape, and I realized it went really well with this thing. So that'd probably be the reference that I used to put the book in the hand for this one. Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of reference I take. So I actually look when I shoot reference. I shoot to see the shadow line more than anything, because that's the defining quality of the form is the shadow. So. Right, and these are like, I don't do this very often, but I had like a page of like, these are as thumbnail-y as I usually get, but like,
that's really cool,
creatures and
I haven't seen that. How
designs.
come I have not seen that one before?
Because I don't show you everything.
Normally I see everything.
This is another version of the Slither piece. I wanted I wanted to go back and do that theme again, play with that shape. Oh, here's another.
Well, it's a version of the Sentry, kind of.
Actually, it is. This actually was what initially caused me to do that EDO piece with the girl and the cat thing.
Oh,
the
yeah,
girl with the
yeah,
star
that's
head.
right.
This is where I started with that.
Two times ago.
Yeah. And that's basically my version of a reindeer.
Oh, that's the one you've kind of kept.
Right. So this. What?
Did you go to any sort of art school, or did you just sell your soul? No, he just worked his ass off.
That's a conflict. Well, you could say a little bit of both.
Well, you did. You gave him for a little bit.
I did go to school for a little bit, and then I just decided that. I had teachers that told me that I wouldn't get to do what I wanted to do going to that kind of a school. They said if you want to do this kind of work,
but you didn't come out of it doing this kind of work.
I actually
then we were talking about this week.
This has happened over years,
25
so,
years.
And I'll make notes to myself, like I wanted to do this female form and then finish the silhouette of the form in gold. But I also wanted to incorporate that. I was talking to you about the Armenian bowl, that clay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That red clay that you can paint on. That the gold looks really good against. So. I started researching gold leafing because I like it, and it's kind of a subgenre thing now to do gold leafing, and I wanted to have a reason to do it. These are just notes to myself.
No.
Okay.
That's the original sketch of the little brother behind it.
Oh, yeah. It's
a little more disturbing.
And I'll have narration, like for this one, it says, "In the silent places of the earth where the angels dwell, we gather." And it just describe. If I don't have all the information in the sketch, I'll write it out, and so that I remind myself.
So your mind. There's the original sketch.
Yeah, this was when it was more fleshy and more repulsive in my head, and I ended up dropping a lot of that into shadow. Mm-hmm. That just different ideas for very straight, like how do you say it? These are more skull-ish figures or faces, but coming and going out of different types of backgrounds. These things are like, I don't know, they look sort of like lumps of living matter that grow arms and legs that don't make much sense, but I find these shapes appealing. I don't really know how to explain it other than they look, the rhythms are what appeals to me in a lot of these things.
Right.
Even if I end up, a lot of times I'll take a drawing and I'll scan it and mirror it and see what it would look like mirrored.
Yeah.
And it changes what it's going to be.
Yeah. Someone asked, this is kind of a question for me actually. Do you have any tips for someone starting off in the social networking? Because you had also asked, what gave you your start in the art world? To me, everybody has this idea that they're going to throw something up online and 500 people are going to like it.
Right.
And you have to think of it more as a marathon that you're going to just keep going, because we didn't start, Facebook and Instagram has only been around for the last couple years.
Well, a few years now.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually start at the beginning when a lot of people did. There are people that have like literally millions of followers.
Yeah, exactly.
We got in. I found that we usually got into the social media a few months before they changed the algorithms.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and then, but I just would say post every day and don't fret about stuff that isn't
don't worry about posting too much, really.
or whether everyone's going to see it or not, because eventually, because it's the art that's important, and you just keep putting your stuff out.
This is like one way. I mean, yeah, people talk about that it's posting and you're basically wanting people to see you, right? But as an artist, it's about communication.
Right.
And the more that you post, the more people get to see it for free. You know what I mean? This is
Right.
kind of the idea, is that you throw it out there and a lot of people get to see something,
Right.
and you don't have to pay for that. It's free. It's online. You can
Yes.
see it, you know?
He's thinking about how to generate more followers. You know what? He had a bunch of people that knew his work before social media started,
Well, I did a lot of contract work.
right? And you
And-
know it, and that's
That helps.
That helps,
There's a
but it's also
reason why
just-
there's a reason why they tell a lot of guys in universities publish or perish. It helps to get contract work to gather followings. It's not entirely necessary.
and followers isn't going to mean it's going to. You're not going to necessarily make the money
Well,
because
no.
the followers don't. But I mean, you guys nicely.
Just like I tell people, I have to tell people that I have a lot of stuff in my studio that you don't have to have. But this is after having worked for 30-something years collecting
Right,
things.
exactly.
I didn't just go out and buy this stuff
No,
overnight.
overnight. You don't throw it away.
This was an element that worked its way into a piece I did as a print piece for Sideshow Collectibles. I did the
Right.
3 of the women of their Court of the Dead series.
Yes, yeah.
It was called Divided.
He started doing contract work at during Ice Age for the Magic cards.
Yeah, early on.
Early.
So
Dragon Magazine.
This is when it was on the floor for a long time, so I got stepped on a lot. There's one of them in here, or over there, has dog prints on it too. But these are some of the just vague sketches. Sometimes I only want to remind myself of a pattern and a place on the page, and if I know that much about it, then I'll be able to remember what I want to do. But like these are kind of more formal, I guess you could say,
sorry.
thumbnail type things.
Sorry, I'm turning down your phone.
So these are actually something I don't normally do, but these are all more landscape type pieces. Like this is a boat on the water, and the water's folding back into the darkness, and there's some sort of a head shape in the background that's like observing.
Yes. I know, I'm sorry, we don't speak Spanish. Occasionally there's a gentleman, we met him at Monster Palooza, and he comes in here and he translates for people.
So this is
so nice.
This is what my normal sketchbooks look like. There's a piece of something that is not what I want, and there's this little part right here that I like the gesture. And this is really just a gestural drawing that has a little bit of design in it, but I keep it for this right here.
Yeah.
So
On a giant piece of paper on the floor.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Huh?
Our website is Alan Williams Studio, which you can't order stuff, but you can email me right from there, or my email is victorialtw@gmail.com. It's like 9:43 already.
So
Then our
So I was just saying that
Alright.
sometimes I'll just write down the title of something, and this one says, "The Novation of the Darkened Saints, the Resurrection of the Adamant Knight." And I wrote these words down. I had no idea what the word novation meant. All right?
Right.
But it's something I've heard, but it seemed to fit in context of what I was saying. So I wrote the word down, and then I went and looked it up. And novation means new agreement. So the novation of the Darkened Saints is the new agreement of the
Ooh.
Darkened Saints. So it actually has meaning. It's sort of like, I feel like I must have read it somewhere when I was a kid
Yeah, and you
and
found
intuited
it.
the meaning to it
Yeah.
from the context, and then it stuck.
Yeah. He has pieces going to be at Copro Gallery in Santa Monica on May 12th. And then he has a solo show coming up in August. And he'll be out there for that. And it opens the August 14th is the opening. It's the 4th plus 7. 4 plus 7 is 11. It's 11, right?
That's all in the math.
It's all in the math. Oh, and our YouTube channel is Alan Williams Studio. So these will eventually go up public there. I've got a couple to put up there. But first they go on our Patreon, which is just Alan Williams. And I just draw.
So
Or I just draw here.
that was the pencil for the Sentinel piece that I did originally. So this was fairly well constructed. I knew where I was going to go with it. And then I did I'll show you, the other piece is online, but I did a
Yes.
rendering of it. So
Yes, Rachel, it's in California. Santa Monica, California. I'm sorry. COPRO. Copro.
Copro, yeah.
Right.
Or Copro. Copro? I don't know. They've never corrected me. But, here's one with footprints. So,
You drive me crazy when I walk in and there's like I'm like, how am I supposed to get through this? This place is a shit mess.
So
like,
this was
like,
this
God.
was this was for Damnatio Memoriae was the piece that I started, and the phrase Damnatio Memoriae means the deconstruction of memory, and it's something they used to use in Egypt when somebody would find disfavor, they would strike their names from everything, and so it's a certain what it means is this is about a character that appears and deconstructs the memory of whatever is going on.
Right.
You know?
Erases you from the memory of people.
Yeah. So, and like this is a set of thumbnails that I did, and it has two names: the prayers. So one is the prayers, as in people who are praying, and the other one is the prayers, as in someone who is looking for prey.
Right.
They are preying on things.
Right.
So I like words that have the same spelling but double meanings, like tear and tear,
Yes.
because you can play with that double meaning, and I don't know, it's just fun.
Oh, that was the
This
Wormwood
was
prints.
the Wormwood prints, yeah.
on like.
So one of the things I'll do sometimes is I'll do a sketch like you've seen, and then I'll grab some vellum and I'll trace it and refine the lines, and then I'll do it again. And each time I do it, it becomes a little more elegant, but it loses sometimes more gesture. So I'll do a little bit of both nowadays, and I'm very aware of whether or not the lines, each line, not just the character itself, but each line has gesture. Mm-hmm. You know, so if it looks too automatic, like you can see people who will do like cross hatching, that looks like it ends up looking like this. It's very, very, very automatic, like unthought of. And then I don't know. There's a difference between that to me and doing purposeful and varying the lines. So there are uses for both.
Yes, it is vellum. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there are uses for both.
Yeah, this is actually Duralar,
Duralar.
which is kind of, I guess it's archival in itself, and a lot of people
Heavier.
actually work directly on Duralar because it has some interesting. You can layer it. Has interesting. You can oil paint on it. It doesn't hurt it. It's basically a plastic
so much
film.
different shit in this room. It's like
If I find something,
never lets me throw it out.
No,
either.
because here's the problem. If you throw it out, then I'll want to experiment on it, and I'll have to buy it again.
Yes, I know.
That's
We've done
happened
that
to us
before.
many
I know.
times.
I've thrown something out, and then he's like, "Where is this?"
So if I don't want to get precious with the drawing, I sometimes have to force myself not to by working on line paper. And so I'll grab these like cheap yellow notepads, and I'll do sketches on them. So I'm forced to, because if it's on notepads, I won't try to push it further.
Duralar is D-U-R-A, and then I think it's just L-A-R.
L-A-R.
Duralar, yeah.
Duralar, and it basically
Scott
is.
Fisher uses it a
Yeah.
ton. Ooh, I like that one. Oh, that's the one I cut in half.
Yeah, it was an accident. It was okay. You just cut it.
I cut it in.
That's all right. I taped it.
Totally cut it in half
fine.
accidentally.
So it was just a figure that.
Yeah, but he is cool.
So.
Creepy. Didn't mean to cut
Some
it.
of them are light like that, which are more gestural drawings that I can see what I was going for. A serpentine body with that ends in 3 torsos, so it was like a triumvirate of some kind. Oh, it's upside down.
Going through a lot of sketches.
Well, they wanted to see sketches. I mean,
That's true.
we don't show them that often.
That's true. That's awesome. I don't think I've seen that one.
Huh? Well, it's more of a, like you would see it in a cemetery, and this would be like a statue, right? But it fades into blackness, and then the characters are, coming out of the blackness of the.
So this is the one you're going to start painting this week, right?
Not this one.
Yeah.
I have about a dozen others that I have that I want to find. This was another sketch for the Wormwood prints where he was kind of giant and he's standing over buildings. And these are all dilapidated, torn down buildings, and that's him kind of observing everything. So, what's interesting is I looked up the term wormwood, and I started. The phrase wormwood actually, and I found out is also what is it? It's the name of a Chernobyl. Chernobyl
that's right,
means wormwood, and they both are related to the destruction of the earth in different ways.
That's just too weird.
Isn't it weird?
So this one too.
These are, more angelic forms, and the thing about the angelic forms that is that the wing structure has to have some beauty and rhythm to it. Or I don't like just sticking wings on things. I want there to be I want it to be like an epic impact of the shapes and stuff. So. Like some of mine, they were just like that. That's just more of another gestural thing.
See, he hasn't gotten rid of it yet.
No, I don't get rid of them. This was This is actually when I started doing the unbearable for the heavy metal show.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Copper. I started with.
That's true.
I knew I wanted to have a down, like really dramatically,
Downlighting.
spotlight from above. But this is when I started playing with what direction I wanted the figure to be standing in. So, and it's not really a figure; it's just figure-ish.
Figure-ish. You know where it was going from
Yeah,
there.
I did. So
He knows what's going to happen.
there you go. That was about a third of the ones in that drawer,
Okay.
and only ones that I could show. So, because some of them I don't want to show yet.
Yes. Some of them he's like, no,
But,
I'm not showing you. All right,
So,
draw some more.
this
We
is
got
the-
10 more
we
minutes.
got 10
That's
minutes.
it.
so somebody had asked to see sketches, so that's the way I sketch.
Yes.
But very often I don't start with any sketch at all. Like I didn't really start with a sketch of this. I started with a few lines, and I didn't really know what it was going to be until I got past a certain point. But I did have an idea in my head after I got past this point that I love those old worn out etchings of like St. George and the Dragon, where it looks like the graphite or whatever they used, most of it's fallen off the paper, but it still
Yes.
has that quality.
Yes.
And so, I really love to be able to actually make that happen if I could, in a piece.
I'm going to tell him your secret.
Which is, yeah,
What happens after every live stream?
that I have to go take a nap for an hour, or
Yeah.
I say it. I say
He's like,
after every live stream, I go, I need a
I'm
nap.
spent.
Because I'm basically introverted. I mean, a lot of us are. A lot of us in this feed are right
No,
now.
and see, you notice when he starts talking, he doesn't draw, so I never ask him questions. No.
So,
Have you drawn on toned paper? He did a whole series
Yeah.
years ago on
Yeah.
toned paper.
I did.
They were all very soft and romantic pieces. Very.
There were the one I can
fairies.
remember is Kith and Kin.
Kith and
was
Kin.
done on tone paper.
Kith.
I think, yeah.
I think your
I
name
know it was called Kith and Kin.
Okay.
I think that might still show up if you look online for it. Kith and Kin. It was a
did
girl
Titania
looking up.
too?
It was a
Yeah.
girl looking up at a hummingbird. It was very romantic kind of piece. That was back when I was doing more like medieval fantasy type stuff too.
Yes.
And we
So
were-
when anybody asks, he didn't like start off in his 20s doing this.
And there was a
Did
time.
art.
Yeah, there was a time when I did cute,
He did cute
but
dragons.
that's just like no, I'm not.
He did cute dragons.
And they did really well. It's just it was such a for me
Everybody
it felt
loves your cute dragons. He does really well.
well,
No, he doesn't use a harder lead when he just it's usually still 4B.
anywhere. Yeah, I don't usually go. I have like up to like HB, and I have pretty much every lead hardness, but I don't use them often enough to say that I actually use them.
Yes, and since
So.
you
But you can take this is a 10B, but its range is from 10B up to about a 4B, depending on how hard you use it and
Yes.
how soft you use it.
right.
So.
Since you work with light sketches, do you have the inner swirling design in your head before you start, or do they just happen? I think they just happen to you.
Sometimes they just happen. Sometimes I start with that design.
Sometimes they happen, and then you have to erase it because that part didn't work.
Right, because it's all about finding different rhythms and being able to draw through things. You might draw over your lines and then go, that looks better, and then have to erase back and then build your values around it so it doesn't show up.
Yes. And if I haven't gotten to anybody's questions, you can always. The IMing on Instagram is really difficult, so if I haven't answered your question, I apologize. Or, because often you guys will ask questions and I'll yell at him and ask him for the answer, or I know the answer.
She actually, it's funny because she, in observing the stuff that I have done, knows that I do things that I don't know that I do because she's watched me do it, and when I'm doing it, I'm not thinking about it.
That's true. All right, we have 5 minutes left. Let me say this first.
Right.
Website is Alan Williams Studio. YouTube is Alan Williams Studio. It's here on IG, and then patreon.com/Alan Williams if you want to take a look over there. And Glenn asks, do you sometimes find it paralyzing to start a project when you know it's really going to take a long time to finish?
Yeah. Oh, all the time. I said this the other day. I was like, I had this this idea that I thought was good. And I told Vicky this, and I said, but the only thing that stops me is, boy, that sounds like a lot of work. I was like, this is going to be a lot of work. But
I don't really want to do that.
the thing is that it's like, okay, there are two battles you always have to fight. It's a lot of work, and it's going to look like crap. because you start off every piece with those two things.
But see, you know
And
what?
then
You've gotten over the. It's gonna look. You know,
I
it's gonna
just-
look like crap. The fuzzy stage, we like
Yeah.
to call it. It's the fuzzy stage, and with painting, there's a lot of.
But I
fuzzy
go through a frustration period every single time. I use that same line from the movie. You know, the one that Banner used. My secret is that I'm always
It's
angry.
frustrated, yeah.
Well, I'm always vaguely frustrated when I start working, and I'm like in a cranky mood when I first start a significant piece because my mind is on trying to figure out how to approach this in a way that I A, haven't already approached it, and B, is going to be interesting to
Right.
look at.
Right.
You know, because I have a difficult time doing the same thing twice, even though I use the same techniques. It's like I don't really do series work, but I think my work looks consistently in the same world.
Right.
You know, whether you want to call it, you know, a narrative or thematical work or whatever. But
Right.
I can't make myself do work because the first piece sold well. That doesn't work for
I
me.
know. We tried that. Oh
You
my
know.
God! Do another one. Oh, that one doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Or, oh,
the only
that
way
one
that I've
doesn't
ever
sound
found to make it work in a series is to remember what I was trying to do in the first one and why I had fun doing it, and then go back and find a reason to do another piece and have fun doing it.
Right.
Because I'm not really. There are people who are talented at doing work specifically because they can see what the trend is and what sells. That is not me. I'm
I
not
don't
talented
know,
in that
can't.
way.
People are like, "Oh,
So I just kind of
you should do this because people love it." No.
yeah.
Ellen doesn't like to do that.
So.
Or he goes, "Oh, people are loving what you're doing here," so he goes, "I'm going to try this now."
And this doesn't have anything to do with whether or not we're successful or not, because I did this when we first started working too, and we could barely afford ramen noodles.
Right.
I just don't have the capacity to. Some would call it discipline. There's a professional discipline that will allow people to do work that they don't like that much because it will make them money, and I just never developed that because I've always just drawn stuff for myself. The times that it has worked out really well for me though is when I've done film work and contract work and
Yeah,
concept
but
work.
you like that just like took off. You can really do those.
It seems to be the context. I have to start the piece with the context of that it's going to be a collaboration with someone. If I do that, then I can go back and forth with them all day.
Right, right.
But if
'Cause
it's
you
just
work
about
really
making
well
money from
on
it, if it's just about making money from it, I can't do that.
No.
I don't feel that. You know,
Like, oh my gosh, this piece sold so quickly. I love it. He'll go.
I'll never do it again. It's just, you know, I don't know. It's probably
People
a
do
drawback.
like their calendar series or the seasons, and you know, it's just unfortunately. But that's okay.
I tried once to do like a few series. I tried to do an Arthurian series. I think I got
Yes.
3 pieces into it.
Yes. Yes.
So,
It's
That
a
was when I was-
it's a frustration for me. It's okay.
well.
Not anymore. That's fine. I know how you work.
But I started looking at my work the other night, thinking of the book we're going to be doing next year,
Yes.
and it does look consistently in the same world.
We
now.
have plenty of art
Yeah.
to go in that book.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to kickstart the book next March. So it'll be almost all the way done.
And I will have a solo show also at Copro Gallery. It's August 11th this year,
Yes.
and the name of the show is Covenant.
Covenant.
So, and there will be an adjoining show called Personal Gods that will be many different artists. So,
Yes. We're almost done here, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. I got to put some kids to sleep. Or to bed. My brother-in-law doesn't like when I say that.
put him to sleep. Yeah.
Putting-
Well, no.
I'm going to put the kids down.
Yeah.
He goes, don't say that, because they only have dogs. And he thinks,
So for me, a lot of it is just finding patterns and rhythms and texture, which is what I use. Like, the paper helps, you know. I've used in smooth paper. You have to make more of it, and you have to figure out ways to make it happen. Just
Yeah.
like with paint, you have to figure out ways to make it happen sometimes.
thanks, Christian. You guys have a great night, too. We should sign off now, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's going to start beeping at me and saying, you have 30 seconds before the end.
Oh, it's at 58, 57?
No, those are people.
Oh, that's okay.
Those are people in there.
Ah.
They come and go. They go up and it goes down. That's the little number. See, he
I always
doesn't tell me that.
I always appreciate anybody who stops by and watches and listens to us
ramble.
Right, we'll answer any questions that we can, and
Well, we should do it one time. We should fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
You mean
very
like
often.
cage fight?
Like cage fight? You and me? I'd take you down.
'Cause
Oh,
I need some workout.
see, it says 26 seconds remaining. All right, guys. Grab us on Patreon or here on Instagram or YouTube. All
And
right?
I'm going to have another coffee.
All right, go have a coffee. No, he isn't. He's going to take a nap. All right. See you guys next week. Bye.